Overcomplicated privacy tools, VPS recommendations, account cycling, and the importance of endpoint security. Welcome to the Q&A for Surveillance Report 216, where we answer questions from our amazing patrons who keep this podcast going and allow us to keep making it for all of you. You can view and join the questions on patreon.com/surveillancepod or xmrchat.com/surveillancepod. We'll start with Cracker Barrel Biscuits, who said, have you guys had an example of trying to switch over to a more private alternative software solution, but gave up because the process was far too complicated or there were way too many issues getting it to work? And the first thing that came to my mind when I read your question was Weblate. For those who don't know, there is a really popular software called Crowdin. It's a software as a service. Privacy Guides uses it. I use it. And it basically crowdsources translations. If you speak more than one language, you can go and translate it to your native language. And then they approve it. And once it's translated enough, they can go ahead and upload it. And now the website is available in multiple languages. Well, Crowdin is not open source and cannot be self-hosted, but there's this alternative called Weblate, which is supposed to be like Crowdin, but again, open source, self-hostable, all that fun stuff. I could not get Weblate to work, and I even tried to find instructions. Like I looked on YouTube, like is there a tutorial for how to use Weblate? And there's not. And any tutorials I do find are like super advanced because to their defense, it's designed for actual code. It's not designed for like a website like we do. So it is geared more towards an actual audience, but it's designed to be able to translate apps and programs, not websites. But it is so user unfriendly that I cannot figure out how to work it. And it's fine. I'm an idiot, whatever. You can say whatever you want. I don't care. The point is I can't figure out how to use it. If I can't figure out how to use it, I can't use it. It's just that simple. Crowdin, there was a little bit of a learning curve, but for the most part, I was able to figure out most of it by myself. The Privacy Guides guys gave me a few tips on how to improve it. So that was the first thing that came to mind for me was like Weblate is just impossible to use. If somebody wants to make a tutorial, I'd be happy to switch, assuming it's user-friendly enough. But like getting it off the ground is impossible. The only other thing that came to mind for me was years and years and years ago when I was exploring different Linux distros, Arch Linux, this is probably, again, me being an idiot, I literally could not install it. I could not figure out how to install Arch Linux. And I think since then, they've actually redone the installer and it's a lot more user-friendly now. But at the time, I literally just couldn't get it running at all. So I never have actually used Arch Linux or tested it because I literally couldn't figure out how to install the thing. And after a while, I just gave up.
Yeah, when I had to set up Arch, I think I used EndeavorOS to make it quite a bit easier back then. So I guess I never even tried Arch, but yeah, I've heard some annoying things about that from people. I think it's funny that the Arch community can be a little bit weird about this because the same people who make memes that are like, like I figured out how to install Arch and like, look how cool I am, are also the same people that say like, what do you mean like it's hard to install Arch? Like when someone like is genuinely coming forward and like, yeah, I don't use Arch because it's hard to use and hard to install, and then they come forward and go, it's not that hard, like look, I did it. It's just this weird situation. So I'm glad that there's other distros to help people like use Linux that don't require the hard installation process. Anyway, mine are actually, okay, so I'll start with the more technical one. I was looking into self-hosting email at one point, and the thing is, I didn't even try it. Because like, I think anyone that just reads documentation of how to do it will instantly go, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do this. It's super inconvenient. You have to have such good reliability. You have to have the storage space for it, which probably is like one of the easiest things to get actually of everything I'm describing, but you have to have the hardware for it. And you also have to kind of hope that you can do it properly in a way that won't get you in people's spam filters, and you have to do it securely. You have to handle your own data. Like there's so many things you have to think about. The moment I was like, I'm not doing this is like, I'm willing to deal with like a 1 GB free email plan with like Tuda each month and go through and delete emails that I don't need anymore than actually have to deal with self-hosting my own email. It just seemed like the trade-offs were just way too massive. So I think that was one of the things I gave up on pretty quickly because I just didn't think it made any practical sense for myself. You know, if you have a good reason to self-host, like by all means go for it. But I was like, there's no way this is worth it to me. And the other one's like not a technical thing, and it's something maybe a lot of people might have tried. Using Tor browser for everything by default. I think that's something that everyone tries to strive for at some point, but realistically, it's just really hard to do day to day. Things load so slowly, you get captured everywhere. A lot of sites, like banking sites, just don't even let you in. For some reason, like it's in some ways easier to access Reddit's onion URLs than actually accessing Reddit through a VPN. That was like one thing that I tried doing for a while, and I very quickly stopped doing that. And for me personally, Mullvad's been a perfect drop-in. Like, I know Mullvad's probably not the most usable browser for somebody who like is used to Chrome. I think that's a pretty big hop. But for myself, I don't watch Netflix. I don't really engage with DRM'd content online, which Mullvad doesn't really support, I don't think. I'm used to having like a hardened Firefox, which is actually less usable to me than a Mullvad browser. So those have been like my two things that I can think of. There's also just like, I can't tell you like the graveyard of things that I briefly explored but chose not to do because I realized really quickly it was complicated, or most of them not too complicated to figure out, just too complicated to make any sense. Like even if I figured it out, it was like, oh, I didn't realize I was going to have to pay this to like host it myself. I didn't realize that it would have to come with me having to maintain the security in this way, or I'd have to set up now new automations to maintain this. And it's worth just going with the solution that takes care of it for me. So I think that's like the majority of things that I ended up not going with. David Johnson has a few questions here. The first one is, what Linux VPS providers do you use or recommend? Darknet Diaries advertises Linode, and it seems like a convenient and easy to use option. But what are your opinions on the matter, and what has your experience been with the options you've tried? Yeah, so I've dug into Linode and it seems fine. The main thing that I would look at for a VPS provider is the privacy policy and just see what they do for you, what they don't do for you, and also payment options if you want to like pay for it more privately. Some of them will support things like cryptocurrencies and Monero and whatnot. But I personally don't really use VPS stuff much. I don't do that much self-hosting, and the self-hosting I do is on my NAS at home, which makes things really easy for me. So it's not really a question I have that much insight on. So I don't know if this is something that Nate's had more experience with.
I do have some experience, though I wouldn't call myself an expert by any stretch. I use Namecheap mostly for domains. I really do like Namecheap. Compared to like 1984, for example, they're a little bit cheaper. I've had really good experiences with them. Their tech support has been amazing in my experience. There used to be some big critical workaround for 2FA, but I haven't been able to replicate that, so I think it's been fixed since that blog post went around. My only issue with Namecheap is they will sell you one VPS per domain name. So whereas with other people like 1984, for example, I can buy as many VPSs as I want and I can do anything I want with them. I can hook them up to a domain. I can leave them on an IP address. I can do whatever. With Namecheap, you get one VPS and you attach it to that domain. And then if you want another VPS, you have to buy another domain, which is really stupid. I've mostly been using 1984 and I have no issues with them. Their customer service is also great. I've never used the phone call customer service. I just use the email.
I also know it's a good org too. Like they support a lot of digital rights initiatives and they have a good privacy policy. They used to be listed on our resources, but we got rid of our VPS section because it was a little out of scope, I think, for our resources.
Jonah recommended I check out BuyVM, BUYVM.net. My only issue with them so far that's really bugging me is they have a very limited stock and it's all first come, first serve. Hetzner's a popular one. Pork Bun's a popular one. Orange website hosting. I know Techlore used to use Orange website. I haven't personally used any of those, but I know those are all really popular ones. David's next question, and I've actually seen this around a lot. You say, what do you think about the usefulness for privacy of regularly creating new accounts and deleting old ones on big tech platforms? Because, you know, your data is more valuable the more current it is. I think it's a lot of work, so I don't blame people if they don't want to do that. I think there's also considerations about like establishing a reputation. You know, if you're like me and Henry, for example, if you're a well-known figure in the privacy space, there is an advantage to having a Reddit account that everybody knows is you. On the other hand, it's also nice to be able to operate in places sometimes where you are anonymous and people don't know who you are. In some cases, specifically, you mentioned like shopping and streaming. With things like Amazon, for example, creating a new account all the time is really arduous and hard to do in some cases. It might be more worthwhile to just keep an account that you only use a couple times a year, as opposed to making a new one every time where they might shut your account down, they might freeze your gift card or your funds. They might not. I've never had that happen, but I've heard about it happening to plenty of other people. I think in the case of streaming, it's really like, what do you value? Like me personally, and I know this is weird, from a musician perspective, I really like the algorithm of music streaming services. Within reason, I don't like Spotify tracking my location as I drive around and my contacts and this, that, and the other. Like, that's too much. But like Apple Music saying, oh, you listen to a lot of Architects. Hey, the new Architects album is out. Check it out. Like, I like that kind of stuff. It's a lot of work to keep up with. I think that's where I come down on it. If you want to, I don't think it's a bad idea, but I don't think it's necessary. Depends on your threat model, I guess.
I interpreted this question maybe a little bit more literally. This reminds me of when people have the idea, I see this quite a bit, of, oh, I'm gonna upload fake data to this site, or I'm gonna like falsify my data and trick them, or I'm gonna do fake searches once a day to throw them off. None of those things, we really have an established way to measure how well those work. There is no research article, there's no evidence. We don't even know how the algorithms work. These things are very sophisticated. It's not hard for them to say like, oh, well, they did these other searches, so these new searches just seem like flukes, or maybe they just build a different profile, but they're still collecting all your other data. Like there's so many things that could still be going on here that we just don't know about. So this to me falls in that similar bucket of like, you're saying like, oh, regularly creating new accounts, deleting old ones. But if you've been using like a Google account, for example, on your phone, and that's been how you use your phone for 6 months, and then if you try to do this and it's like, okay, I'm going to delete it and start new every 6 months, there are lots of signals that they can still use to tie those two accounts together. And yeah, they might not do that. We don't know. The point is like, we don't know what happens. So there's no way to really establish how well this works. And for me, there are so many things that you can do that people don't want to do that have verifiable ways to make an impact. Right? Like moving to a better browser, starting to switch over to better services where you don't have to delete them every 6 months. Those are things that take time, they take research, they take a lot of effort, but they're also a lot simpler, right? Like they're simple, but they're not easy. These are the hard solutions that people don't want to talk about because it's easier to just tell someone, yeah, just keep using Chrome, but like do like fake searches here and there, or like do these like really random things to like throw them off, but they don't really effectively deal with the root solution. So this to me falls in that strategy of you can try it, but I would love to see what evidence you have that it does anything meaningful and why people shouldn't be putting their time into more effective strategies that do actually work for them. If you have spare time, this won't hurt you, right? I just think that people should value where they're putting their energy into this stuff. The last thing is, have you seen the talk from Pegasus to Predator, the evolution of commercial spyware on iOS? And to what extent do you think end-to-end encrypted debates end up being a red herring that diverts attention and mitigation efforts from monitoring for and patching against endpoint spyware? There seems to be two broad types of crooks. One, petty and disorganized ones, and two, highly organized kingpins who can pay to have existing false end-to-end encrypted solutions compiled for them personally, therefore bypassing any institutions that may be subject to regulation. Even the journalists that Nate talked about had been tracked with Pegasus according to Darknet Diaries, not by intercepting his communications in transit. So first off, I just want to say I have not seen this talk, so I don't really have the full context on this, so I can't really comment too much there, unfortunately, but it's something that I would like to look into for perhaps a future Q&A. With that said, I think that strong end-to-end encryption has dramatically shifted the targets. This has pros and cons, right? So the good thing is back in the day, everything was pretty much like in a lot of ways insecure, because if you hack Facebook or if you're a government, you can just ask or require Facebook to just give you data on different people. So that just allowed this like untethered access to so many people's information and data, and it gave individuals no power. The problem with end-to-end encryption, for the record, I think end-to-end encryption is fantastic and I encourage everybody uses it. But now it's almost put more shift and responsibility on individuals to keep themselves safe, because now the individual is the weakest link. Rather than Facebook or the server being the weak link as it used to be, it's now your phone. That's the weak link. So the endpoint security and the requirements for endpoint security have continued to rise over time. And that's why we've seen things like lockdown mode. We've seen things like advanced data protection from even these big tech companies because they see how important this is. It's why we're seeing operating systems rising up that are built around security, because the need for security on someone's local operating system is getting more and more intense as that becomes the weak link. And so we're starting to see Pegasus and all of these spyware companies try to take advantage of this weak link in order to get access to things that previously didn't need that. All I can comment on is the situation, and I think that it's a natural consequence to us figuring out the whole server issue. So now we're trying to figure out, well, how do we get better security on people's local devices as we start migrating to these more secure situations? So that's been my stance on kind of the whole end-to-end encryption thing. I don't know if that answers your direct question, though, because I haven't seen this talk.
I'm with you. I also have not heard of this talk. Kind of the same thing you said. It's like things used to not be secure. Now they're getting more secure. It's the constant cat and mouse of the cyber arms race. And once we've encrypted the communications, the only natural place for them to go is the endpoint. And we have seen a lot of improvement on that end. You know, the Pixel 8 has hardware memory tagging or something. Like the Pixel series is slowly getting more and more secure. The iPhones have long since been secure. Samsung continues to be trash. I mean, even iMessage here in America, iPhones are insanely popular. Like it's a big deal when I run into another Pixel user. If you throw a rock in America and hit 10 people, 11 of them are going to be iPhone users. So at least here in America, most people are already using end-to-end encrypted communication without even realizing it because everybody's using iMessage and they don't know it. So when that's the state of things where 90% of communications are encrypted anyways, where, Facebook is rolling out end-to-end encryption, Discord has end-to-end encrypted calls, WhatsApp is super popular. Encryption is insanely popular even without people realizing it. For the record, there's a long way to go. But my point is, not that I feel bad for them, but they've been forced into a corner and they're like, we can't hack WhatsApp, we can't hack iMessage, we can't hack Signal. Let's start hacking the endpoint. But I also think it's worth noting these spyware tools are also incredibly rare. It's not like they're rolling out Pegasus and Predator on everybody's phone. They're still reserving them for highly specific situations. And there are still plenty of other ways that they are able to get text messages. It used to be, I think, from the iPhone backups. It probably still is because of ADP being opt-in instead of opt-out. But the point is, like, in answer to your actual question, I don't think it's a red herring because we are still seeing attacks on encryption. I mean, we just covered this week, Sweden and France are both telling Signal to chill out, which they're not going to. Apple said we would rather leave than chill out, which I certainly would argue the government still got what they wanted regardless, but we're still seeing those same attacks on encryption. So first of all, no, I don't think it's a red herring because those attacks do still exist. And I think it's just part of the continual arms race. As devices get more secure, we'll continue to see an evolution in these spyware, which personally, maybe it's a bubble because of the headlines that I read every day, but I feel like we are seeing a lot of attention paid to hardening the hardware. I think we're probably just not seeing as much of it. I think there's still a lot of room to go with hardware security, I would imagine, being not a hardware security expert. So those were all our questions this week. Our opinions on overcomplicated privacy tools and experiences with them, VPS recommendations. Definitely, if I missed any that you guys have had good experiences with, please leave them in the comments. Cycling through different accounts and the importance of endpoint security. And again, like I said, I'm not a hardware expert either. So if anybody's more of an expert, let us know your takes in the comments. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to our patrons for asking questions. We appreciate them. We appreciate your support to the podcast. If you would like to join them and ask a question, you can do so. We have Patreon. If you want a recurring thing, you get to join our Signal chat as well. At $10 a month or more, you also get longer episodes, not the Q&As, but the actual news episodes on the weekends are usually a good 10 to 15 minutes longer. We have more analysis, more insights. And if you just want to ask like one question and you want to maximize your privacy, we still have xmrchat.com/surveillancepod. We did not get any questions from there this week, but we do still appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for supporting us and asking questions and just being part of what we're doing here. We'll be back this coming weekend with another news episode.